shop. And I said, there's got to be a church that's got a kick-ass choir so that I can ascend, in my feeling tone to a higher height without any of the guilt and without any of the rigmarole of you're damned and all that stuff. And someone told me, you got to go to Agape. So I got on the bus from South Central to Santa Monica, and I went in there, and it was like standing room only, charismatic speaker Michael Beckwith. The choir was amazing. They were talking about how loved we were and how God was nearer than hands and feet. And it wasn't any talk about not fearing God or anything, but they weren't even talking about fear or anything like that. And that's when I said, I realized that I am worthy of love and being a representation of that love here on this earth, because that's all I am anyway. And so I was like, oh my goodness, like that freedom and seeing there were so many creatives in that space. The feeling of love and affection and people feeling whole was like a palpable vibration that soothed all my inner alloys and hurts and stuff from life. And it made me think of a life that was better. So that's why I stuck with that philosophy, because anything that makes you feel that you were worthy, and a space for grace and love to infuse your body and your mind and your awareness, and that you can affect not only your life but other people with that. I was on board with that. And so this McZeel guy is talking about hearing the divine in your life and feeling it and working it in. And I've always been like, to not fear that God is punitive, and to feel that God is working for your highest and best at all times, and is accessible through you, through means of you, not no intermediaries, just you.
Yeah.
Like you can just tap into that. So that's what, totally. And that feeling is, that sense is creative, and that it's in your life, and it can improve your life and steer you in better ways of drinking in and sopping up and sucking the marrow out of this life. That's what it's all about. So I applaud you in talking about the religion of creativity, because it is.
Well, it's interesting because practicing creativity for the purpose of mental health is what opened up my intuition and opened my heart back up to God. Because I had completely shut off that part of myself. And creativity is what reconnected me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's what takes a worm to a butterfly. To a little cage to a butterfly, and it's what breathes us. It's what sustains us, and it's what keeps us from the sword of Damocles hanging over our heads.
So actually, that'd be an interesting thing to ask you too, since you think so deeply about all those topics, and you're very aware, I think, of that part of your being, the intuitive part. What role does intuition play for you in creativity itself. Like when you're making a piece of art or you're writing something creative or whatever you're doing.
Oh, I just try to think of it as like, I have to just put this in an analogy. I remember my cousin like saying that you are like, when we're born, she says, God sends us out into the garden to play. And she says, but you are back at the house pressing your face against the windows, wanting to go back in. So I try to think now that I realize that it's not a house I'm trying to get back in, that basically there's a door with inside of me or a window that I can open up, and that lets it flood in. And the intuition is to kind of know when it's okay to do that, and when you can play in that liminal space. And when I used to, when I was first learning how to do readings, I didn't rely on the tarot at all. I really just went inside of myself, and I felt like I would go inside like that. Like I have a ring light right now, but I used to see like this ring, it's corona, kind of like an eclipse inside of my head, and I would go in there, and then I would pass out of it again, like I was going into the other person's corona within them, and then sometimes I would see places that I was in. And like some people would be open up to me where I was actually inside this landscape. And this one person, it was like, it almost reminds me of that. I don't know if you ever saw that movie that had Robin Williams belt when he died and he was getting in, I can't remember what dreams may come.
But I think I didn't.
In that movie, they showed him he kind of like disappeared into, he loved art so much. So his idea of heaven was being in a painting. So he would see the flowers, and then it was basically a tube of paint, but it wasn't a tube of paint. It was just the paint, the colors. And he would be squeezing them and rolling in it and all that stuff. So when I once was in this exercise of reading for somebody, and I saw the inner landscape of him, where his soul was, as this big color where I'm squishing this, and there's like forms of vibrating color or some vats of this, and I'm wandering through, and I'm just like, oh, this is awesome, just inside this other person, feeling this and seeing this, and just that's pretty, I want to touch that, and all that, because this person's open to me, letting me see what's inside of them. And so that's why I say that it's that window that's inside of you, creativity, intuition, that you open and you allow the communion to begin, the real communion with self, higher self, that person, the person you want to be, the person you've always been, the future self, the now self, everything. It's just you open up to that force within you that allows you to know that you're safe to play in that space, and nothing's bad is gonna happen unless you close yourself off and let your ego get involved. But otherwise, it's just like being a kid, like I was inside that person when he was open to let me see his inner landscape, and I could see it in my mind's eye. So, yeah.
Wow, what an amazing description of what that is. Thank you.
Well, that's what I think. Intuition, imagination, that creativity, if they're all the same thing, basically is a golden thread leading back to creator. That's all I can say. It's some and you can keep the hose or you can let it fly open. And I think, like, after you finish, that's what you feel when at least I feel when I finish something, like I gave birth to something. Like, oh, I go to postpartum and, and then you start all over again.
Yeah.
You do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're sharing.
It's something I've thought a lot about. When I first started learning astrology, I was kind of confused by the variety of things that are, described within the same house or sign or whatever, because, so the fifth house, it makes so much sense to me now. The fifth house and the sign of Leo, your sign, the sign we're in right now, because it rules creativity, children, and romance. And, when I started learning astrology, I thought those are wildly different things. And now I realize they're not. They are the same things, because you fall in love with what you're making and you create it and you give birth to it. And then you have to let it go out into the world, just like raising a child. And it's amazing how, how that works out. But yeah.
But then you think about flowers. The flowers grow and they do, especially if it's like not an annual perennial, and it'll bloom and then it'll be in this height of beauty and it's sharing all itself with the world, and then it doesn't worry that it's run out of that good stuff. Another season will be doing the same thing, or especially with perennials, flowers, they'll just like keep having growth periods, and maybe that's what, maybe we don't need to hold on to what we create, just let it be.
Yeah.
We can like create in just the moment. Like if you have a dinner with your family and it's awesome, and that you paint on the fabric of time that space, and those memories live in all of you, and that's art too.
Yeah, and it circles back to the thing that you started with, which was creativity being what you're doing with your life, like creating your life and living your life as a creator.
Yes.
Of life and all the beauty you can pack into it while you're here, right?
Yeah, that's right. And it's not like about holding on to moments. I had to learn that, and I was telling someone why I haven't dove into more romance personally is because I had to heal that idea that it was a limited capacity, or for me to love that hard, and then lose that big. And but then I realized that every person that you love has its season, and they will pass from your life in some form or another, and you can't hold on to it. You just enjoy it while it's there, and you learn from it. And I am so different. The tapestry that my late husband drew on my heart is with me forever. And I still can go back and say, oh, wow, those were the good old days. But no, these aren't the good old days. That's what he used to say all the time. There's no good old days that's happening right now, And just because I had that one form doesn't mean another form of love in some form or another won't be just as transcendental and life transforming. So, yeah, and I get to participate in it. I get to say yes, Just say yes.
I got chills. It's magic.
Tear up a little bit. But I love that man. I love that man. And I was like, and because it healed a lot of the daddy and father issues that I had. And because, you know, and we got to make that symphony, and I'll make that symphony with somebody else too. I finally get that, you know, but even more than that, more so, I get to make symphonies with myself every single day.
Yeah.
And
whenever you want.
Whenever I want.
Because you're self-reliant.
Yeah.
Self-sufficient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That doesn't mean that, you know, culturally, there's not this feeling like, oh my God, I better snag and bag somebody before. Or I get too old, too moldy, oldie, you know. But I'm like, no, there's 80-year-olds that find true love. So I'm like, I got time.
You sure do.
As long as I'm loving me, I have love.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I don't mind being of the earth and on the earth and all that, but I know that the higher truth is beauty and light and love and grace. And I mean, you see it in, like, I was watching the Olympics with my mom, and you see it in these people just living large, being their natural given gifts. And yes, they've worked for it, and they poured their whole life and their focus into it. And what we get, what they share with us is just like mind blowing, you know, wow. Like this painting up above my head. She just sat before the canvas and I've seen her do this really quickly or slowly. And so you saw where it used to be all detailed, and then she got into this period of time.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
You know, yeah. So she could do all of that, and this was where she was in that moment of time, just expressing spirit in a formless, free-flowing jazz kind of way. And I love that, you know. Sometimes I still listen to your music, and sometimes I'll play your music in my class, you know, because in my class I do an outro, so I'll play something, and and then I remember,
you play my songs.
Yeah, I play your songs. Yes,
thank you.
Yes, I'm a big fan of your music. You got a beautiful voice, beautiful way, beautiful everything. So, I mean, this is a great expression. I love seeing that you evolve into this and sharing that near and wide. And every time I'm on TikTok or every time I'm on YouTube, one of your videos comes up, and I just love it. I just love it. And I really appreciate you interviewing my son. Oh my God, just hearing him speak about his passions, getting to know that side of him was so enriching, you know.
I'm glad. I'm really glad. He's a special guy, and I really value and appreciate him.
Like I said, when a lot of people think that art is about what's visual, but it's who you are, you know, really just is. I just love that. All right, have a wonderful day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you, my friends.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Have a beautiful day with your creativity, my friend. See you next time. Bye.